Hello children. So let's start with a new chapter, force and laws of motion. So as you already know, and we have defined force, that force is something which creates a push or pull, right? A push or pull applied on any object is simply termed as force. Now, what happens when we apply force on any object? There are various changes, various noticeable changes that can be seen. For example, force applied on any object can change its shape, can change its size, can change its state of rest or of uniform motion, as well as its direction and speed. Right? Force can bring all these noticeable changes. Now we classify the force as balanced and unbalanced forces. Many a times in our day-to-day life, we come across these examples, but we don't relate them to the balanced or unbalanced forces as such. Children, when we are talking about balanced forces, we say that they are applied to when such forces are applied to an object, there will be no net effective force acting on the object. Means a very good example is shown here. Both the teams are playing tug of war and a force of 300 Newton is applied by each of them. Since both of them are applying the same force but in the opposite direction, so we say that they are giving an example of balanced force. Hence, none of the team is going to be the winner. Right? Moving ahead, here you can see the example of an unbalanced force. These unbalanced force helps in bringing motion or changing the direction of any object. Now consider the same example. Two teams, they are playing the tug of war, but now in this situation, this team is applying a force of 400 newtons, whereas the other team is applying a force of 300 newton. So this team turns out to be the winner and they are gonna pull the members of the losing team towards them. So this is one of the effects that an unbalanced force can bring. Right? We say that when multiple forces they act on a body, they can be resolved into one component known as the net force acting on the object. Means the total forces, the sum total of all the forces that are acting on any object turns out to be the net force. If you want to calculate the net force in this situation, it is going to be the sum of F1 plus F2, right, which is 5 newtons plus 5 newtons, and you can subtract this force of 7 newtons from it to get the resultant force, and it will come out to be 3 newtons in this particular direction, in the direction of larger force or bigger force. Children, moving ahead, as we have discussed that in this chapter we'll be doing various laws. There are 3 different laws of motion. First law of motion states that a body at rest will remain at rest and a body in motion will continue to be in motion until and unless they experience an unbalanced external force. You all must agree with me for the first part of the law, which says that a body at rest will remain at rest obviously, if a box is lying here on the floor, it will be there for years and years until and unless you won't push it or pull it with a force which is greater than this frictional force. Then only it will start sliding, right? So you all agree to this. But the question that might be arising in your mind is that how come a body will remain in motion always? Yes, my dear children, it can remain in motion if we are going to give it a frictionless surface. It is actually the force of friction which always acts opposite to the motion. And because of this frictional force, the objects, the bodies, after traveling certain distances, they come to rest. If the same experiment is being performed in any frictionless surface and we try to roll a marble over a sliding surface, the marble can keep on rolling if the surface doesn't have any friction. Or you have to apply any external force to stop that marble from rolling. Right? So, the first law of motion states that a body continues to be in the state of rest or uniform motion in a straight line unless acted upon by an external unbalanced force. First law of motion is also known as the law of inertia. Right? Now, what is this inertia? Inertia is the tendency of any body to remain in its own state, whether it is the state of rest or the state of uniform motion. Right? For example, when you are sitting in a classroom on the first bench, right, and somebody comes, enters in the class, takes the permission of the teacher and enters inside the classroom, will you get up from your seat and go to the back bench and offer that seat to the student who is entering the class late? No. Your inertia says that I am sitting here, let the child cross the benches and go and sit at the back or wherever he or she finds the seats. So that's called inertia, the tendency of any object or any body to be in its state. Every object, every body resists a change in it. An object at rest will remain at rest unless it is acted upon by any external unbalanced force. An object in motion will continue with the same speed and direction unless it is acted upon by some external force. So children, let's have a look of the definition for the inertia. Basically, all objects, they have a tendency to resist the change in the state of motion or rest. This tendency is called inertia. All bodies, they do not have the same inertia. Why? Because inertia is the measure of mass. More the mass, higher the mass, more will be the inertia of that particular object. Right? Suppose in this beautiful picture, we are having two buckets. One bucket is filled with sand and the other one is empty. So obviously this one is heavier than this one. So we will say that the bucket with the sand has more inertia and it will be difficult for you to push or pull it as compared to the one which is empty. So children, inertia is the measure of mass. More the mass of any object, more will be the inertia. Moving ahead, bacha, we have second law of motion, which basically deals with momentum. Right? Now, what is this momentum and what does this quantity actually deals with? When we talk about momentum, we say that momentum is defined as, right? If I want to represent this, we represent it with a P and we say that momentum is defined as the product of mass and velocity of any object. Right? So when we multiply these two quantities, we get the momentum. children, please remember, momentum is possessed, right? Momentum is possessed only by the objects which are moving, right? Is possessed by the moving objects only. Why? Now the question arises, why? Because momentum is the product of mass and velocity. If any object is at rest, right? It is not moving. That means its velocity is 0. Correct? And if its velocity is 0, so we can say that momentum is the product of mass into velocity. If v is 0, then automatically p becomes 0. Right? That means the objects which are at rest can never possess momentum. Okay? I hope now the definition of momentum is clear to you. Right? Keeping this in mind, children, consider a situation. Suppose I have given you one ball, right? You all are having one ball, and let's say the mass of that ball is m. Okay? Let's say that the mass of that ball is m. Initially, the ball was moving with an initial velocity of u. A force F was applied on the ball such that its velocity changes to v. Now, coming to your second law of motion. Your second law of motion says that the rate of change of momentum of an object is directly proportional to the applied unbalanced force on that object, and it takes place in the direction of force. So children, second law of motion clearly deals here with the relationship between force and rate of change of momentum, right? Children, wherever you have the word rate, rate means something is divided by time. When in denominator you have time, you say that it refers to rate. Okay? Rate means something is divided by time. In denominator we are having t. But what is divided by time? It is rate, it is change in momentum. Now, how to calculate this change in momentum? It is very simple, bacha. Suppose an object, as I explained you earlier, an object is having mass m, is moving with an initial velocity u. After a force F is applied, its velocity becomes v. That means v represents the final velocity. So, bacha, change in velocity. Sorry, here we are going to write change in momentum. Change in momentum is given by final momentum minus initial momentum. Now, final momentum, obviously momentum P is the product of mass and velocity. If it is final momentum, then it will be mass into final velocity. If it is initial momentum, then it will be mass into initial velocity. Clear? Any doubt till here? Okay. Now, let's move forward, beta. Second law of motion says that force applied on any object This symbol is actually this one, you can consider, is directly proportional. Directly proportional means when something written on the left increases, then of course the factor on the right will also increase, and vice versa. That is direct relation. When we will talk about inverse relation, that is 1 upon, there you will say that if the quantity on the left increases, then the quantity on the right will decrease. We will see that later on. Now here F is directly proportional to rate of change of momentum. Very clearly I have explained you here. Rate of change means something divided by time, and what is getting divided by time is change in momentum. So force applied on any object is directly proportional to final momentum minus initial momentum divided by time. This quantity refers to change in momentum. Now, this is the same situation which I gave you, that consider a ball having a mass m moving with an initial velocity u. Suppose a force F is applied such that it starts moving with a velocity v. So, according to Newton's second law of motion, force applied is proportional to change in momentum upon time. Change in momentum will be given by final momentum, that is m into v minus m into u. Rate means divide by time. So children, I have taken out here m as common, so it will leave within the brackets as v minus u, which is divided by time. If you remember, in the first chapter of motion, we have done that acceleration is defined as rate of change of velocity, that is v minus u by t. So children, in place of this entire figure v minus u upon t, I have replaced this by a, which is acceleration, because acceleration is defined as rate of change of momentum. So till here we have got that F is proportional to m into a. That's the sign for proportionality. Means if mass or acceleration, any one of them is gonna increase, then of course the force applied on this will also increase. Or you can say that when the force increases, mass to always remains same, acceleration on that object will increase. To remove this proportionality and to do the numericals, we have replaced this proportionality with a constant k, and the value of constant k is 1. This is universally fixed. Neither I nor you nor anybody can change. And to remove different proportionalities, we have different constants, and these constants, they have different value. So the value of this constant k is 1 here. The ultimate equation that we are getting after putting k as 1 is F is equals to m into a. So children, we can say that a force of 1 Newton is produced in any object of mass 1 kg if it produces an acceleration of 1 meter per second square. This refers to meters per second square, right? Now we know that from Newton's second law of motion, F is equals to m into a. Let me shift this m on this side, right? So what we are going to get is F divided by m will give you acceleration. So children, this is an inverse relation. You can very well see here that acceleration and mass, they are inversely related. Means if a body is having more mass, it will have less acceleration. If a body is having less mass, it will have more acceleration, and vice versa. So this shows that acceleration is inversely proportional to the mass of the object, because acceleration is equals to 1 upon m, inverse of mass. Right children? So I hope you all must have understood this topic till here and you are gonna revise this topic at least till here. Fine. Kindly revise this, and in the next video we will try to reach out for the few applications of the Newton's second law of motion. Till then, stay safe, take care, bye bye.